Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing If You Like This Book, You Might Like This Book, YA Fantasy Edition. But I also tried to pick books that were not the ones that are normally talked about on BookTube. I made a point to really find some books that you guys might not have thought would go with other books or books you might not have heard of. But before we go ahead and get on into the video, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down in the description box for links to my social media, my Discord, and my Patreon. First, if you liked the Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson, then you might like the Winners Trilogy by Marie Rutkowski. Both of these follow female leads. They're both fantasy, but they both have very little magic in these worlds. They're just fantastical worlds. This one has a touch of magic, this series. I haven't read the last book, but as of right now, there is no magic. In the Remnant Chronicles, we follow a main character who flees an arranged marriage. She just wants to start a new life, but she ends up being pursued by the prince that she left at the altar, as well as an assassin sent to kill her, and she is kind of finding herself mixed up in the different politics of this world and what's going on with these countries and impending war. In the Winners Trilogy, we follow a main character who is part of a nation who invaded and overtook another nation and enslaved those people, and she ends up buying a slave one day, and romance develops between her and the slave, and she has to kind of figure out how she's going to deal with the repercussions of that when she learns more about him and what's really going on with him. And the reason I would say that you would like both of these series is because they're very fast paced. Both main characters have to make a lot of sacrifices in order for the greater good. Both of the main characters change a lot throughout these series, and both series have really good romances. This series has a love triangle, but it is dispelled somewhere in the series, I think book 2, and in this book we have a really good romance. So I definitely think if you like the Remnant Chronicles, you should check out the Winners Trilogy. Next, if you liked The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Audier, then you might like We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. In The Wrath and the Dawn, we follow a caliph who picks a new wife every day, but that new wife does not survive the night. He ends up killing her, and we follow our main character who purposely gets herself married to this caliph so she can find out what's going on and basically kill him for everything that he has done. But she ends up surviving because she tells him stories. And we kind of follow the relationship between the two of them and learn exactly what's going on with the caliph and why he's doing what he's doing, which there's a lot more to than originally thought. In We Hunt the Flame, we follow a main character named Saphira, and she every day goes into the forest dressed as a man to hunt for the people of her village and feed them. Magic used to exist in this land, but now it has completely been erased. She ends up getting commissioned to find this magical book and embarks on a quest to do so and enters into this part of the land where magic still exists and magical creatures exist. She also ends up getting involved with Nasir, the king's son, who has been sent to kill her. They're both Middle Eastern inspired. Both of these books have scenes that are like desert fantasy. Both of them feature strong female leads that have magical abilities. And both books feature very good romances with the male protagonist. Also, as far as I know, both of these books are also duologies. I personally like The Wrath and the Dawn more than I did We Hunt the Flame, but I still feel like if you liked The Wrath and the Dawn duology, then We Hunt the Flame is definitely worth checking out. Next, if you like To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, then you might like The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I've read both of these books. I no longer own To Kill a Kingdom. I unhauled it, and The Wicked Deep I got from my library. To be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of either one of these books, but I still feel like if you liked one, you might like the other. Both of these books are loosely based off of like evil sirens. So in To Kill a Kingdom, we follow a siren who is the daughter of this ruthless sea queen, and she kills princes. That's what she does. But she ends up coming across a prince that she can't kill, and she is banished because of it. And she kind of gets involved with the prince and his crew on his ship, and then things kind of go from there. In The Wicked Deep, we're actually following witches. So every single year, these witches emerge from the ocean and take boys from this village to kill them and take them back to the ocean. And it's kind of like a curse that was placed on this village because of something that had happened to these witches centuries ago. They have a lot of ocean, seaside imagery. I feel like both books, the main action takes place at the end of the book, especially The Wicked Deep. Also, there is a romance in both of these books with the main male protagonist. In The Wicked Deep, there is kind of a twist in this book that has to do with the main character and then the story of the three witches that I found that it was well done. It was interesting. There isn't such a twist in To Kill a Kingdom, but I feel like if you liked this book, then you will definitely like this book too. Next, if you liked House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig, then you will probably like Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendar Blake. Both of these are paranormal horror type books. And House of Salt and Sorrow, this is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, but there's just so much more to that. And it takes place in this seaside manor where there are 12 daughters and they are slowly dying one by one. And our main character, Annalie, takes it upon herself to figure out what's going on exactly and is there some sort of curse or whatever. In this book, we are following a male protagonist named Kaz, and he is a ghost hunter. He can see ghosts, and he only kills evil ghosts. And he ends up going to this new town and finding out about this haunted house, going to this haunted house and getting involved with the ghost that lives there named Anna, and trying to figure out what happened to her and her backstory and why she is the way that she is. The reason that I would recommend both of these books is both of them are downright creepy. They are so good to read around Halloween because they're dark, they're atmospheric, they got horror elements. There were scenes in House of Salt and Sorrow inside the house where these I don't want to give it away, but like, oh, it was so good, where these paranormal things were going on and then the main character was seeing things. And then in Anna Dressed in Blood, our main character goes into this haunted house and just these scenes in the haunted house are just so gory and so creepy and so good. So I feel like if you're someone that likes spookiness, likes haunted houses, just likes creepy atmospheric books, then you would enjoy both of these. Next, if you liked Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller, then you might like Fable by Adrienne Young. I personally wasn't a huge fan of Daughter of the Pirate King. I unhauled my copy, but I did really like Fable. And it took me a long time to unhaul this book because there were elements I liked about it. But first off, both of these books are seafaring books. They take place on the ocean and ships and have to do with pirates. In Daughter of the Pirate King, we follow a girl named Alosa who purposely allows herself to get captured by the enemy so that she can infiltrate what's going on with them and try to steal something from them. In Fable, we follow a girl that is the daughter of this very, very ruthless, like, sea trader almost, and he ends up abandoning her on this island for her own good, this island of thieves, and she kind of has to figure out how to get off this island. And the reason that I would recommend both of these books is because they have a strong, good female protagonist. I personally wasn't a huge fan of Alosa because I felt like all she wanted to do was like beat up guys all the time. Fable, our main character, is definitely not like that. She's a lot more humble than Alosa. She's a lot more, I mean, she's strong minded, but she's humble and she's smart and she does things methodically and she's not like arrogant like Alosa was. There's also romances in both of these books. The romance in Daughter of the Pirate King was definitely more prevalent than the one in Fable. I feel like Daughter of the Pirate King was more romance centered than Fable is, but there is a romance, but it is not enough to like overtake the plot. The plot of this book is much more established. Even still, if you like pirates, if you like ships, if you like those type of stories, treasure hunts, I feel like you would enjoy both of these books. Next, if you liked Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake, then you might like the Gemma Doyle series by Libba Bray, the first book being A Great and Terrible Beauty. In my personal opinion, both of these books are fairly dark. In Three Dark Crowns, we're following three sisters that were born, and they actually have to fight each other to the death for the crown. In A Great and Terrible Beauty, we follow Gemma Doyle, who was born in India but goes back to England upon the death of her mother, and she goes to this boarding school. And we follow her experiences at this boarding school, especially as she uncovers some mysteries around this boarding school, especially when it comes to her mother. And the reason that I would say if you liked Three Dark Crowns, you might like the Gemma Doyle series is just because of how dark this is. Both of these books just aren't overly happy books. The Gemma Doyle series definitely was way more atmospheric. It just had this dark setting of this boarding school and these moors, and it was just creepy. Magic systems of both of these books are definitely a part of the story, but they are not very heavy magic. And I will say in the Gemma Doyle series, there is portal fantasy. It's a portal fantasy type magic, where in Three Dark Crowns, the magic system is elemental. Also, most of the cast for both of these books are female. In this book, we have three sisters. In this book, we have four best friends. I will say that in A Great and Terrible Beauty, it does have one of the best like love interests that I've read in a YA fantasy in a long time, but the romance is not even the main part of the story in either one of these. So if you're looking for a dark fantasy, but the magic system isn't terribly heavy, there's romance, but it's not overpowering romance, then I definitely recommend both of these. Next, if you liked Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab, you might like The Coldest Girl in Cold Town by Holly Black. Both of these are urban fantasies. In Our Dark Duet, we follow a world where monsters exist and they actually are birthed through people's sins. And in The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, we are following vampires. But the reason that these books are similar is because the monsters in this book are kind of separated from the rest of the world. We follow these two different cities that have these borders. In The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, we follow a world where vampires are placed in cold towns, their own cities. But definitely, these books are dark and gritty urban fantasies that have to do with monsters. In this Savage Song, the magic system surrounds music. Our main character has a violin that he plays, and music is a way of fighting these monsters. The Coldest Girl in Cold Town really doesn't have anything like that. I will say that this book is definitely a little bit more dark and gory. Both of them are super fast paced. They are fun urban fantasies with scary monsters, and I would definitely recommend both of them. Alright, you guys, so that is it for if you like this book, you might like this book, YA Fantasy Edition. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books or if you have any suggestions, and I will see y'all soon in another video.